911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys tonight? Hey, Tech Deaf, how are you? Hey, Mrs. Thang, how are you? Hey, Pigeon Mac, good to see you. Hi, Little Daisies. Hi, Salty Beach. Hey, C. Savek. It's good to see you guys tonight. I hope everyone's doing well. So tonight, the live, hi, Little Daisies, it's good to see you too. The live tonight is going to be about the fact that we have some new information. There was a letter from Richard Allen that was sent to the court yesterday. There was, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that there's a lot of stuff out there right now. I know the Murder Sheet dropped a new podcast. I'm going to go over a few things that was said in that. And we're going to watch Paul Holes from CrimeCon talk about this case. We're also going to, the rumor is that Paul Holes was brought in to consult on Delphi in June. And knowing what I know about some of the things that have been said, I'm going to talk a little bit about what that meant for this case and how I think whether or not Ricky Allen was tipped in by somebody, because we've talked about that. Again, just my opinions. I also want, no, Paul Holes is a retired detective who caught the Golden State Killer, among others. He is a cold case detective. He is well known in his field. He wrote a new book called hold on a second, because I have it. It's called Unmasked. I've shown it before, and I cannot say enough about this book. It is fantastic. If you get a chance to read it, please do. It's My Life Solving America's Cold Cases, and this is the picture of him. You guys can kind of see. But he's wonderful. He posted, I follow him on all social media that I'm on, and he posted something really interesting that we're going to take a look at on October the 8th. So I'm just really excited that he may very well have been the person who cracked what we're looking at right now. And if it is him, I'm thrilled. He is, I don't know, he's just an amazing detective, and I don't know, you guys. I don't know how much more I can say about him. He's pretty incredible. And he ranks up there with Ken Maines, Joe Kenda, our very own Cop Faxx, Perry Freeman. I put them all in the same context together as just extraordinary men who have spent their entire lives in law enforcement trying to do good for others. So, but we're gonna do that. I'm gonna go over some of the things that I have been able to unearth the last couple of days in my research. I think the more that we can try to figure out who Rick Allen is and how he was, the more answers we may have to who and why this crime may have occurred. Again, the presumption of innocence is there, and we have to make sure when discussing this case and talking about the man who's been arrested that he is a suspect. There have been charges, obviously, which is why he's incarcerated, but there is a presumption of innocence in our country. Our Constitution affords it, and it is not up to Richard Allen to prove he's innocent. It is up to the state and the prosecution to prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Hey, Never Silent. Good to see you. How are you? Hey, Jennifer. I saw you slip in here. How are you? Hey, Danger Dave. Hi, Mary. It's good to see you guys. So those are the things that we want to always keep in the forefront of our minds as we are talking about, hey, John, as we're talking about this case and what may or may be happening here. Hey, Paris, how are you? So good to see you. I want to thank you guys for all of the buy me a coffees that you guys have been doing. I couldn't believe how many of them I got this past month. It is such a nice gesture, you guys, to go in and buy me a tea. I don't drink coffee, but I love chai tea. In fact, I'm kind of like obsessed with it. And from Starbucks, I love Starbucks chai tea. So thank you for keeping me supplied in that, because I think that's my really only vice when it comes to caffeine, because I really don't allow myself to have caffeine any other way except for the tea. So I really appreciate it, you guys. And whoever decided to gift me 25 memberships, I want to say, I don't know how I missed that or when that happened, but thank you so much for whoever did that and allowed 25 random people that subscribe to me to be afforded a membership for a free month of my channel. So it's really, really, it's really wonderful, you guys. Oops. So somebody asked me, what is chai tea? Well, it's a spiced tea, and it's traditional. It's a traditional Indian tea, and I think this. I'm trying to remember. I think the original version or something is masala chai, maybe. But it's a spicy cup of tea, and it has. I was trying to think. It comes. It's really found in India and Pakistan, and the South Asian culture, but it is just, the spices are so calming and relaxing and soothing. I just can't even tell you. But it has ginger, and it has I think cinnamon, and I'm trying to think of some of the other, there's some other root that's in it as well. And it's chai tea I drink it as a latte, so it's made with steamed milk. I don't ever water it down. So the chai that I get is actually boxed by Starbucks, and I drink it right out of that. So I don't ever add water to that. I just froth my milk, and like they do. And that's one of the things about chai, is it's distinctly frothy. But it is soothing to the soul. It is just amazing as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, cinnamon sticks, there's cloves in it. There's green cardamom and peppercorns. I've heard people say that they can add fennel seeds to it. And you use black tea as the actual tea, and then sugar, cane sugar. The ginger root that you use needs to be fresh. It's just amazing. I can't say enough about it. So now that you guys got the you got the thing on chai. Hey, is it Vid Inquiries? Vid Inquiries. Thank you so much for your super chat. I so appreciate it. Thank you for the donation. Very kind of you. Yeah, I do not like coffee. I tried to drink coffee in college, and I couldn't even force myself with all the sugar and the milk and everything in it, or the cream. I was just like, if I have to put all that stuff in it just to drink it and make it potable for me, forget it. So I was like, yeah, nope. So I grew up as a farm girl, drinking tons of iced tea. My mother was a huge iced tea drinker, and we drank it. It was a sweet tea, a sweet iced tea that we grew up. She always used tea bags. She never boiled her tea. I know some people boil their tea with their tea bags when they make iced tea. Makes it bitter. So her iced tea was exceptional. But I stopped drinking iced tea back in like 1990. I think I was just iced tea'd out. I had drank it so much growing up that I just didn't want it anymore. And when Starbucks came around, I was really bummed because they had all these cool sounding drinks. And I was like, but I hate coffee. And somebody told me that I should try chai tea. And I did and fell in love with it. So it is awesome. I cannot say enough about it. And it's just really good. So there you go. It's my vice. But anyway, I always try it differently. Like now it's Christmas coming up, so Starbucks has their cinnamon dolce sprinkles. Man, if you put that on there with a little bit of whipped cream on the top of your chai, oh, it's so good. But I drink it cold. I drink it iced. I love iced chai. And I also like their refreshers that Starbucks has as well. The strawberry acai with lemonade, that's one of my favorite drinks in the summer. So there you go. Hey, CJK, how are you? Hi, Olivia. How are you? Hey, Northern Light. So good to see you guys. Hi, Avondale Mama. So anyway, now that we've got the Starbucks out of the way, like I said, it's one of my vices. It's between that and margaritas, I have a real problem with tequila. So not a problem with it, but I love tequila. So, but yeah, it is really good. So, let's see. Hey Molly, how are you? It's good to see you here. I was super busy this afternoon and I was going to try and make Steve's live. It seems lately I've not been able to get to his lives. I've been having to watch them on replay, which is upsetting because I know he's live right before me and I always want to see what he's talking about live, but I haven't been able to get over there. And I've just been super busy in real life. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that because I really want to get over to one of his lives. I'm doing really good. Thank you very much for asking. I needed to make a note. I just remembered something that I wanted to do today and I didn't. So I wanted to wish Adam, if he's watching from anywhere, from Sunny's It's a Crime and Shame channel. Adam left today to go to Europe, and I hope that he has a safe and amazing trip. I can't wait to hear and see pictures for how it was. So I did want to shout that out to him. And I also want to give a huge shout out to my dear friend GonZo, who is recovering. And I've been speaking to him daily almost, and I've been worried about him, and I just want to let him know that I'm thinking about him and that I know everything's going to work out and be fine. So, I wanted to say that. Gosh, guys, what do you think about everything that's going on in the Delphi world? In this community? I was going through some of the newer people that I hadn't heard of before. I was looking at them for the last couple of days, and it was really interesting to me to watch some of the people coming in fresh to this case, because I think a lot of people have heard the international buzz or national buzz in the media that the Delphi murders and that they've arrested someone. So people are starting to come in to the case to figure out what's going on, that they haven't, because I'm getting a lot of sense, at least in my Reddit sub, that there's a lot of people out there that aren't familiar with the case. They certainly haven't been following it for 5.5 years. Well, Dave, the question you asked is, why are the eyewitnesses not coming out? Because the eyewitnesses have been told by law enforcement not to speak about this case. We haven't heard from any eyewitnesses. None. And we won't until they go to court. Law enforcement told them long ago that they would be part of the court case and they should not talk at all whatsoever about the case with anyone. So that's why you're not hearing from them. Let's see. But you know, and I'm not against people, you know, hey Kanga Blue, good to see you. I'm not against people, you know, jumping in and looking. Oh, Louisa, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better. Watch it on the replay, my dear. Yeah, I'm not against people jumping in at all. I'm not, you know, nothing like that. I'm just saying that there's been a lot of new faces and voices out there that are starting to cover the case. And so I found that interesting. And I found some of the things they've had to say pretty interesting as well. But so we all know that Ricky, he likes to go by Rick or Ricky, you guys, not Richard. And he wrote a letter to the court. He wrote it on the Thursday before he was taken into custody by law enforcement, the ISP, to be taken to a state facility for his protection. And it didn't get to the court until yesterday. It was filed on his case as of yesterday. And I'm just going to read what it says to you guys. I'm sure all of you have seen it, but I thought we could talk about it. My hair is driving me crazy, and I'm sorry, you guys. I washed it today, and it is just flying away everywhere. And so I only wash it once a week, and it's just, I didn't run my straightener through it, so it's just all flying all over the place. Okay, so to Carroll Circuit Court, and those, I can't read what it says, regarding case number, and then he writes off his case number. In the cause listed above, I, Richard M. Allen, hereby throw myself at the mercy of the court. I am begging to be provided with legal assistance in a public defender or whatever help is available. At my initial hearing on October 28th, 2022, I asked to find representation for myself. However, at the time, I had no clue how expensive it would be just to talk to someone. I also did not realize that my wife and I's immediate financial situation was going, I did not realize what my wife and I's immediate financial situation was going to be. We have both been forced to immediately abandon employment, myself due to incarceration, and my wife for her personal safety. She has had to abandon our home for her own safety. What little reserve there is will fail to even maintain the original residence. Again, I throw myself at the mercy of the court. Please provide me whatever assistance you may. Thank you for your time in this most urgent matter. Sincerely, Richard M. Allen. And he wrote it from the White County Jail, which we know that he is no longer in. Now, when I looked at the letter and I read the letter, I am not a handwriting expert. I am not somebody that's an expert on any of this, but there were some things that stuck out to me. His grammar in some ways was exceptional and in other ways horrible, if that makes sense. Some of the words he used were extremely, how do I want to put it? Large words. And then other times he didn't spell correctly. I don't know. It was just very strange to me. As far as how he writes, it's messy. He prints. He doesn't write in cursive, which is not uncommon. Hey, Cindy, thank you for rejoining. Good to have you always. Thank you so much. I just think that he is all over the place in that letter with the grammar. It wasn't consistent. And it wasn't, I don't know. It bothered me a little bit, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, Molly, I was wondering about that too. I was kind of wondering why the FBI wasn't present at the press conference when they announced his arrest. That kind of surprised me. I don't know if it's because they're mad at them, but Coffindoffer is not doing any good for this case by continuing with what she's saying. And it bothers me because, again, this case is so very important that we don't want anything to get thrown out on technicalities. We don't want things to be thrown out because of missteps or things that were said by law enforcement or former law enforcement that could be detrimental to the case. And she just needs to be quiet. That's just how I feel, but whatever. There's a rumor going around, like I said, that Paul Holes was brought in June of this year as a consultant to look at and go over the case file. And it kind of makes sense because in May, he was at CrimeCon with the family and he was speaking about Delphi. And I think that he's wanted to help for a while. And I know that he has spoken to law enforcement on the case because he's talked about it. And I wanted to play for us what he said or what he had to say at CrimeCon. Just give me a minute to share my screen. So here we have the family. We have Mike Patty, Becky Patty, the grandparents of Liberty German. We have Kelsey German, Libby's sister, and Tara, Libby's aunt. And then we have Paul Holes, and this is Susan from CNN. She's been covering the case from the very beginning, Susan Hendricks. So let's listen to what Paul Holes has to say.
Paul Holes, as most of you know, retired investigator, he has seen a lot and knows just what this can do to an entire family. And Paul is here to discuss just the heartache that everyone goes through, considering if they live through something happening to a loved one.
Well, no, that's absolutely correct. And this is where, law enforcement has an obligation to do everything they possibly can to get the family an answer. It doesn't bring the loved ones back, right? But it most certainly is something that we need to get an answer. And then there's the public safety component. The type of crime that this individual did is something that may be repeated. And this individual is a dangerous man, and he needs to be taken off the streets, and he needs to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
And you understand it more than most. A mind that would do something like this is capable of it. You say they're able to stop this type of behavior for a chunk of time.
Absolutely. And that's what, I've personally seen with various individuals that I've looked at for my cases is, there are individuals that are more regular in terms of the crimes that they commit. They're periodic. Then there are individuals that will do crimes in clusters. And, this goes to personality types. This goes to what's going on in their lives. Is there a certain type of stress that they're experiencing, a loss of a job, a divorce, and then they strike out at innocent individuals as a result of that.
You talk openly in your book about being so dedicated to this, to the victims and to their families, but at a cost with your own personal life. And by no means are you saying this is easy.
No, well, it's not easy. These are horrific crimes. And, everybody working this case, what they have been subjected to as the professional side is of course going to be taking its toll as they continue to try to solve this case. But it doesn't compare to what the family has gone through. And that's really what the important part of this is. And it's really to try to keep, law enforcement on the right track to make sure that they get the answer. And again, it's not going to bring the loved ones back.
And you say that an investigator is wrong until they're right. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you have an unsolved case, there's all sorts of investigative leads that come in, either from witnesses, various tips, even physical evidence. And as you march down those investigative leads, you develop individuals that you think are potentially responsible. And sometimes you end up thinking, well, I've got the right guy here, only to have something like a DNA elimination occur. But part of the complexity is that we are so reliant on circumstantial evidence, and you have to be. I mean, that's just part of us as humans, is trying to evaluate the world and the case. And sometimes you can be blind to the evidence, the circumstantial evidence. You think, oh, I've got this bit of information, and it adds up. This is the guy. But then there's other aspects that don't seem to add up as much, but you have a tendency to ignore them. And I've done that.
Because the desire is to want to catch the bad guy, and you eliminate what doesn't fit with your theory, and you bring in what does.
It's bias.
And you say for 2 years you had the wrong guy with the Golden State Killer. You thought, this is him. I know I have him.
Yes.
And then you didn't.
That's just it. And that's where, in that particular case, I kind of chose the details within the case file that matched this guy, and there was details that didn't. And I said, well, I can excuse that. I can make it, come up with a reason why that doesn't work. And then ultimately, the DNA evidence showed I was wrong. And that's when, I stepped back and I reassessed. And there's a great article out there by Dr. Rossmo called Criminal Investigative Failures. And this is a trap that all investigators can fall into. And it's really, you make the failure by picking a suspect and trying to make the evidence fit. And what you need to do is have the evidence and see if the suspect fits the evidence. So that's something that I learned the hard way.
And Becky, it reminded me a little bit of how you post every day, even a couple hours ago, that today is the day. Meaning an investigator's wrong until he's right. Today is the day. Eventually it will be the day. Has that been inspiring to other people? It's inspiring to me.
Well, every day, it's the hope every day. You get up and you think, that's how we have to look at it. Every day, today could be the day. So I post that out there as a reminder that it's coming, and maybe today's the day.
Thanks for inviting us in. Tonight, a leaked document.
So I thought that was really interesting, you guys, because they had an echo on their own recording of this CrimeCon. It's not me. Okay. If you guys have, I have StreamYard. It is a third-party application that I actually do my lives from. I don't do them from YouTube. So my live streams are actually forced to YouTube. And there can be a delay. Sometimes if you have both StreamYard and YouTube open, there can be an echo. But yeah, I'm only capable of doing sound with what I'm given on a video that I'm showing. And it depends on how it was recorded, what sound level it was recorded. I can only turn it up so loud. YouTube, I mean, when I play it, it's up as loud as YouTube allows it. And then I have my own sound on my computer as loud as it'll go. So there isn't anything else, you guys, I can do. And I'm really sorry. But anyway, what I can do and what you guys can do is if I'm playing a video that you can't hear, you can always go to the description because it's going to be there after the show and you guys can watch it then. So, I mean, that's about all I can do. I've got people in the chat telling me that they're hearing just fine. Sometimes if you use headphones, you can hear these YouTube channels much better if you wear your headphones. So it's all, I get that it's frustrating and I'm really sorry. Now that I've lost my train of thought, let me grab it back. So we listened to Paul Holes, and he was, what I thought was interesting was that he was at CrimeCon in Vegas with the family in May. Then in June, the word is that he came to Delphi as a consultant on the case and looked over the case file. Now, if you listen to Murder Sheet, they talked and debunked some stuff today. Now, I don't know. You guys know how I feel about the Murder Sheet. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll just have to see how this all plays out and whether or not they turn out to be right or not. But one of the things that they did say was that they were able to debunk some rumors out there. They debunked the fact that Richard Allen's wife did not tip him in. They said they have a source. They know that that is not what happened. In fact, nobody tipped him in. So no tips came in about Richard Allen. What they said they do know is that somebody new was going through old tips and the old case files to take a second look at everything. Hey, Qwerty, how are you? I haven't seen you in forever. Thank you so much for your support. I so appreciate you. Thank you. You're always there when people start getting on me about sound or me saying all the time. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for your support. I just am, you blow me away, but thank you so much. So the murder sheet said that somebody new came in to take a look at the case with new eyes, basically, and get a second look over everything, which is something that Doug Carter talked about in February of this year, that they were going to need people to go back and go over everything. So I'm just like, wow, you know. Anyway, they're stating that that started the chain of events that led to his arrest. That they looked back on something and they were able to find a tip or something in the case file that pointed to Richard Allen that was missed back when. And we have been told, Fox 59 reported that Richard Allen inserted himself into the Delphi case in the very early days. He went to law enforcement on his own and said, hey, Qwerty, I just love you. Thank you so much. You remember, I went for like 2 months. People were really upset with all the time I say, Qwerty's always been there to protect me. Anyway, so what I thought was really funny about it is that with everything that they were saying, is that he went in to police and said, hey, I was out there that day. And my feeling is they took him as this concerned citizen and who was out there, and they listened to whatever it was he said about what he saw or what happened. And that was it. You know, they took it at face value. And there must have been something else about what he said or something else that led whoever looked this over to want to take a second look at him. And they brought up there's a book out there called The Last Stone, and it's about the killing of two sisters, and they were taken from a mall back in the 70s, and a man came forward as a witness early on and said that he saw them talking to another man. And decades later, many decades later, someone new was looking over the case file and said, wow, we need to go back and re-interview this guy who came in as a witness and said he saw them talking to someone else, because they didn't see anything else that led to that. There was no other eyewitnesses of that, and it made them suspicious. And it turns out that the guy that did that was the killer. And they did end up arresting him and charging him with their murders. And so, yeah, Jennifer, no, it's nothing personal against you. I was just explaining to everybody how the sound works. I did talk to YouTube about it. I have a brand new Apple, excuse me, computer. There's nothing wrong with my sound. It's not me. I have one of the best microphones that you can use for podcasting, and my soundboard or my sound card is awesome. So it's not me. But I have been told when you hear echoes, you need to use headphones. So if he did this crime and he inserted himself early on, that speaks volumes to what kind of person and what kind of killer he is. And I was really surprised to hear that from the murder sheet today, but it is something that I've been thinking about for a while. We need to be very, very careful not to jump to conclusions about his wife and his family and what they may or may not have known. We don't know any of that yet. And I have seen so much horrible comments and rude things said about his wife, his daughter, and even his son-in-law. And the horrible comments that were being put on his son-in-law's Facebook page was just awful. I hope that they end up taking those pages down or locking them to where nobody can talk on them, because they don't need to see that every day. And they certainly don't. So thanks, Jennifer. I really appreciate you, as you well know. Love you. So I don't know. I really feel like we just have to be careful in going there. I get that everybody wants to know how. CSAVEC, I agree with you. I also think that it is very, very possible that they were so focused on Ron Logan in the early days that they might have missed this. And I'm not here to bash law enforcement over this. These cases are not easy. And everybody wants to go back and throw them under the bus and say that there were massive screw ups and all this. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that to law enforcement. I have too much respect for the men and women who do this for all the right reasons, who want to bring some kind of peace to these families and to help their community. And Tortor, that is the most disgusting thing I've yet seen. When Inside Edition did that episode where they actually put his daughter's face out there, I couldn't believe it. I absolutely could not believe how poor taste and awful and disgusting that was. It just made me so mad. Hey, Zooter, how are you? But I respect law enforcement. I have family that's in law enforcement, and I would respect them even if I didn't. But because I do, I know how difficult their jobs are. And so does that mean that all law enforcement officials and officers are there to do good? No. It's like any other profession or any other part of our world. There's always going to be bad apples, but one bad apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch. And we can't throw the whole entire FBI into the river because everybody thinks the FBI is corrupt. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. The FBI is one of the best law enforcement agencies in the world, if not the best. Just a minute, guys. Sorry, guys, I swallowed wrong. So I muted myself. I didn't want you to hear me cough. I did not want you guys to hear me coughing. So we have to remember, thank you. We have to, sorry, I'm getting some extra water given to me just in case I need it. So Tortor, I'm going to go over some of the things that they talked about on their podcast. I'm telling you, it's like, I would rather have a tooth pulled without Novocaine 3 times than to have to listen to the two of them. It is so grating on my nerves. I'm sorry. I hate how they talk down to you, how they have to explain some of the silliest stuff. It's like they think we're all nuts. It's or stupid or ignorant or whatever. I don't know. But they talked about, they interviewed supposedly school childhood friends of Richard Allen's from grade school all the way up through high school. And let's see what some of the I wrote down what they said. So let's see. The family dynamic was mom and dad. He has a younger sister and Richard. So there were 2 children, the mom and dad, and the mom and dad are still together. And it was Richard and his sister that lived in the house. He grew up in Mexico, Indiana, which is right next door to Peru, Indiana. One of the friends said there's about 350 people in the town he grew up in. So that tells you how absolutely, what do I want to say? How tiny of a town that is. 350 people are not much, you guys. Everyone would have known everyone. His childhood friend who grew up with him said when he saw his face as the suspect that had been arrested, he was like, no way that he would ever think that he was capable of doing something like this. But again, he doesn't know him as a 44-year-old adult, or a 50-year-old adult as he is now. He knows him as the little boy that he played with growing up. He did say that he'd known Rick's parents his whole life and that they are good people. Rick Allen's grandfather was the principal for the elementary schools in that area of Indiana. Rick used to get teased about that by other kids, teasing him that his grandfather was the principal. He was pretty quiet in school. He was not a real outgoing child or kid. He graduated in 1991. One of the girls that they interviewed, that she said she remembered that he walked closed and hunched, like, no one look at me, you don't see me, I'm not here, kind of thing. She said it's just something that she remembered about him. Instead of walking open, like, here I am, everybody see me, confident or whatever, he was very closed off. They said that he was shy and quiet. One of his friends who lived in Peru, because he also lived in Peru, and he worked at the Peru CVS, filling in, I'm assuming, when they needed a manager, because he was a manager at CVS. And so he was in Peru covering that store. And one of the girls that he went to high school with, she went in the store and she was standing at the counter and he was there waiting on her, but she had not looked up to see the person yet. All she was doing, she was going through her purse or whatever, looking for something. And he said something to her and thanked her, or did you find everything okay or whatever? And she said all she could think about was, oh my God, that voice, I know who that is. And she raised her head up and looked at his name tag, and it was Ricky from school. And she goes, oh my God, Ricky. And he goes, I don't know who you are. And she remembered him. They were asked, a murder sheet asked at that point if, after listening to him and hearing his voice that day, after she saw that he had been arrested, did she go back and listen to Bridge Guy's voice, and is that Richard's voice? And she said she didn't really want to get into speculating, but that when she did listen to the voice and she knows how Ricky speaks, she got chills. One of the persons that they interviewed said that her mother was friends with his wife, and that Richard's wife told this friend that he was interviewed after the murders happened by police. But that's not true, because Fox 59 states that he went to the police on his own. So maybe there's something there, who knows? But he and his wife were married at the age of 19. They're both the same age. She went to Peru High School. He went to high school, I believe, in Mexico, but I'm not positive on that. But they did meet in high school, and they were married at the age of 19, and they've been married ever since. And their anniversary is in November. Right after they were married, he worked for Mr. Steve's RV, and they were just beginning to start their lives. There's rumors, the murder sheet said going around that Ricky Allen has a brother who tipped him in, and thanks, Molly. So North Miami County High School, class of 91. So he does not have a brother. So those rumors are all debunked. And then they talked about, again, about the person who came in and looked at the case, the case differently. This case, you guys, has 50,000 plus tips. That is an enormous amount of tips. And I know people are like, well, it doesn't really seem like it, but for this area, it's a lot of tips. And the reason I say that is I was reading something on John Bonet just recently, and you guys know John Bonet's anniversary is coming up in December, and 26 years, I think. Anyway, I was just reading a blurb. The Boulder Sheriff's Office put out a statement in lieu of her anniversary coming up, and they talked about it. And I think they said that they've only had, I think, 10,000 to 15,000 tips, and that's over 26 years. And that's a much bigger metropolitan area than what we're talking about. So I'm just telling you, this case has had an enormous amount of tips to have to go through. And whether or not there was something in the very beginning that didn't seem relevant to them regarding Richard Allen, and after they looked at it now with everything that they know, it does. You know what? It makes perfect sense. Tor, thank you so much for your super chat. And you are very, very welcome. I can't listen to them either. Hey, Maria, I'm so glad to see you, my dear. I miss you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Lipsha. Hey, Randy, how are you? How you doing, Randy? I hope you're feeling better. There's so much going on with this case. It's mind-boggling to me, but that was pretty much the synopsis of what the murder sheet had to say. They were basically, it sounds like they're out there, hitting the streets trying to find people that will talk about him so that they can find out who this guy is. And that's what they're all about right now. And as long as they leave his family alone, I'm okay with that. I don't care. I mean, if people want to talk to them, that's fine. But I just want him to leave his family and his friends alone, because they don't need this. They're his victims in all of this, you guys. And until we know differently, and until law enforcement tells us differently, it's just crazy. Hi, the Rockaways says, at Molly, my question of the day: the police interviewed Richard Allen right after the murders and cleared him. So he had no visible injuries from the murders. That's odd for a stabbing, right? Well, you would think that possibly depends. Again, if this person was well-versed in how to end someone's life using a knife, you've got to remember their children. It could happen very quickly, and there may be no injuries to him whatsoever. If he had injuries, he could have covered them up before he went in to speak to police. I mean, that's possible for sure. He could have worn long sleeve shirt, a jacket, obviously not the blue jacket, but he would have dressed to cover up any injuries that he may have had. I mean, if he had scratches all over him that you could see or whatever, the guy's not going to the police, because that would be to me, very questionable. That would leave police with lots of questions. And I don't believe that happened. Same Zuder. I had just left Colorado and moved back to Illinois when her murder happened. And I will always carry her in my heart. That poor little girl didn't deserve what happened to her. I do believe that somebody knows. I think somebody knows for sure that had to do with that family or in and around that family. I just don't see it as an outsider. I just don't. I've never, ever been able to wrap my head around it being a stranger. I think it was somebody the family knew. And that's just how I feel. Let's see. What was this? No, Kiwi, we don't, because nobody has really come out. I don't know why it's doing that. Nobody has really come out and said if he hunted or, if he did any of those kinds of things. We're just going to have to wait and see what his background is. But yeah. Well, Salty Beach, Paul Holes spoke about this, and he said that in a crime like this, when you have a lot of blood loss, so we've got a lot of the girl's DNA, and if you get a little bit of the perpetrator's DNA mixed in with that, it's going to be difficult to find it, because the DNA sample that you get is so immersed and immense with the girl's DNA. So it's hard to pick out that little bit of DNA that may be the foreign DNA. As technology gets better, they will be able to do that more. But it's going to be interesting to see what has led to all of this. Were they able to match the girl's DNA from something that they found in the house? Because something happened. And I wanted to show you guys Paul Holes's Instagram. Just give me a minute. Because I think this is really interesting. So this is what Paul Holes posted on October the 8th on his Instagram. I suck at many things, but there's a very narrow area of expertise I'm quite good at. This photo predicts the future for someone. Stay tuned. And it shows somebody in prison, locked up in prison. And people were already saying, please be Delphi. I hope it's for the Delphi girls. And 5 days later, Richard Allen was arrested. So make of it what you want. but I found it interesting and I wanted to share it with you guys. So if the rumors are true, and he did consult in June on the case, and he's the one that found the information back in the case file that the murder sheet's talking about, then that would all make sense, that he was the one that figured out, you guys need to take a better look at this guy who you thought was a witness. I think, Joan, as far as Cop Faxx's video, you know, all he's talking about is that we have no idea what went on in that house. None of us do. They may have had the most wonderful home life and marriage imaginable. It looks to me like they at least tried. I mean, they took this fantastic vacation, it looks like, to Gatlinburg. They went all over Gatlinburg and did all kinds of things together. They celebrated their anniversary there. They went to, what is the name of that famous steak place? Is it Ruth Chris or something like that? What is the name of that steak place? Something Chris Steakhouse. They went there for their anniversary meal while they were in Gatlinburg. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, they spent a lot of time together doing things 3 to 4 times a year, or 3 to 4 times a week. They went to JC's bar in Delphi because they were in a pool league where they played in pool tournaments. Yeah, Ruth Chris. Yeah, that's where they went to have their anniversary meal. And it's like I said, I mean, from the outward appearances, how much can you tell from just looking at someone's social media? I've always said that the people who put their whole lives out on social media are the people that have something to hide. I've always said that. There are people, I have friends who they post every damn thing that they do every single day. And they're always talking about how much they love one another, and they're showing all this stuff, and they're gooey, ooey. And I've always said that those are the people that are hiding something, because nobody's lives are that perfect. We all have issues, and every marriage has issues. We all know he had, it seems like, a drinking problem. And so, you know, it sounds, I made the comment though, it seems like she liked to drink right along with him. She made the comment that when they were getting ready to leave Gatlinburg, she made him stop at this bar so that they could do shots. And she was the one that made him do that. So I'm wondering if she was the authority figure in the house, actually. To me, that there's something there that might be something that we're looking at here. You know, it's like, if he was shy and quiet and reserved like people have described him as, he may have let her, you know, make all the decisions about things. He may have. We don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see what was going on there. Was it that, or was he overbearing and demanding and controlling, and was he vicious? Was he easy to anger? Did he show signs of abuse? Those things will come out on what kind of home life they had. We won't know. Yeah, Molly, that's the truth as well. I've always said if you spend too much time together, that's not a good thing either. But, you know, it's just speculation at this time. And I think when when Perry made his video, that's basically what he was trying to get across to us, is that we don't know what was going on in that house. And we don't know if he had her living in fear of him, which could be why she didn't see something or say something. But if you study psychology at all, and you study the psychology of these types of killers and these types of people who do these kinds of crimes, they don't let you know that side of them. The majority of them do not let you see that side of them. And there are killers, spree killers, or those types of killers, where things happen because something bad happens in their life. Now, we know that at this time, when the girls were killed, that his daughter had just gotten married and left home. That makes it an empty nest syndrome that completely changes your relationship with your spouse. Because up until that point, you've been living for your daughter. You know, you've been involved in her school and her extracurricular activities, if she was involved in any, and it's all been about her. Then she moves out, gets married, and then that part of that relationship is gone. And a marriage can change at that point. It can be a huge stressor. There is a big thing made fun of. People talk about empty nest syndrome, but it's the truth. And most often it comes with depression and the feeling of loss, because you've taken care of this child, and that's what your whole 18, 19, 20 years, whatever, whenever they leave, has been about. And then all of a sudden, they're just one day, boom, they're gone. And you wake up and you're like, what do I do now? Plus, his wife's mother was sick during this period, is what we've been hearing, and she was taking care of her. So she wasn't there a lot. So he was being left home alone. Those are all kinds of stressors that can put stress and anxiety on a person. So, yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what's going on, because you just can't tell. A lot of times the kids are the only thing that are holding marriages together. And when the kids are up and gone, that's when everybody realizes how unhappy they are, or how they don't have things in common. You really do figure that out. Let's see. Yep, it's the truth, because like I said, once the kids are gone, you find out, did you guys grow together? And are you all together at this point? Or did you actually grow apart and the kids were the only thing keeping you together? And now that the kids are gone, you notice that you are completely different people. You don't want the same things anymore, and all of that. So who knows? I just think it's really important to, like I said, keep an open mind when we're talking about the case. Keep an open mind when we're talking about this family, because we don't know the dynamics yet. I've seen videos that were posted on Facebook of them at holiday time. They looked like they were all having fun, having, a normal family interaction time. But again, you're just seeing one view of it, and it's narrow. You can't make a determination or decision based upon that, because we're outward looking in. So So I will say this. I am going to put this out there tonight because I think it's worth noting. The other thing that happened was Kagan's trial was supposed to start on January 13th, which is really kind of crazy because January 13th is when Richard Allen's preliminary, or when Richard Allen's trial, or not trial, sorry. He has a preliminary hearing in December. Keegan's is in December, December. And on the 13th of January was the preliminary hearing scheduled for Richard Allen. So I thought that was quite interesting. But anyway, they postponed. His attorneys asked again for a postponement of the trial for Kagan based upon they are working on negotiations. I want to put out there that law enforcement is not going to negotiate down murder. The state of Indiana has a very strict law when it comes to murder. They don't have degrees of it. If you participated in any fashion into a murder, you are culpable of murder. And I do not see anybody, the prosecutors in his case, the prosecutors in Delphi, I certainly don't see Nick McClellan saying, oh, we're going to give him a deal so that he can get off. I don't see that happening. And the more and more I see what's going on with the Kagan-Klein case, I just really feel like it's not Delphi related. It's just mind-boggling to me. This man has been in jail so long and he's still not even gone to court. Everything just keeps getting postponed and I don't know what he's hoping for. Now, I know that they got rid of 5 charges. It is not uncommon in these cases for them to drop charges. It is not an uncommon thing at all. So everybody that's thinking, oh, they dropped those charges because he gave up information, I don't believe that. But I mean, time will tell. Definitely time will tell on that. But again, we're back to waiting on him. We're not going to learn anything on Kagan anytime soon. And I know that we've got a lot of creators and a lot of people out there making videos now talking about the monster he is, the fact that he doesn't care about anybody, his family, you know, that they hope that something happens to him while he's in jail. And I don't understand these people because they're contaminating a potential jury pool. We keep talking about that and it's like people don't get it. When you are out there proclaiming that you're behind the family and you want to keep the affidavit sealed for the protection of this case, but yet you come out and say what a horrible, nasty person this person is, we do not know what the evidence against him is. We absolutely have no idea what they're going to present. He's not been into a court of law to have a jury trial yet to be found guilty of anything. And he has the same rights as anyone else to be presumed innocent until he is proven guilty or he pleads guilty, one or the other. And if you guys watching or anyone listening if you really are concerned about this case and you want justice for Abby and Libby, this needs to be as important to you as well. And it's extremely important that his constitutional rights not be infringed upon, and that everything is done by the letter of the law. So yeah, he has asked for an attorney. I checked this morning. There is still not an attorney of record showing up on my case. I've been looking a couple of times a day to see. So hopefully, it will, they will get one assigned to him. It's not only relevant in a court of law. You're absolutely wrong. You're absolutely wrong. It is relevant to anyone that's charged with a crime. That is how our justice system is supposed to work. We're not supposed to have people trying people in the social media platforms and trying them on news outlets such as Nancy Grace. She's renowned and known for it. All you do is it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's just, we just have to wait and see what happens in the case against Richard Matthew Allen. Does he look like Bridge Guy? Yes, most definitely. In my opinion, I can see him in both sketches. Beyond that, I have no idea what the evidence against this man is. I'm anxious to find out what their evidence is, because I in no way believe that these officers would have brought these charges to fruition and that Nick McClellan would have signed off on them and taken them to a judge if they didn't have damn good evidence. That's just my feeling. I don't think that they would have put Mike and Becky and Carrie and Derek and Kelsey and Anna through the hell that would entail if they honestly didn't have enough evidence to take this guy into court. So that's all I'm going to say on that one. But that's all I really had for you guys tonight. I wanted to just talk about that stuff because I thought it was important to discuss. And I am going to start looking at some new cases. So be prepared for some of that's going to come up, because there's going to be a lot of time where we don't know. Yes, Molly, you're exactly right. Accusing someone of guilt without proof or conviction is slander and libel, and it's also morally wrong. If you were arrested on a double murder charge, would you want everybody and their brother throwing you under the bus and saying what should happen to you when you haven't had your day in court? Yeah, exactly. Public virtual stoning have become normalized via cancel culture, which is why I stand firmly against it, even when I agree with the issue. It's just wrong. And we just can't forget that. And we can't forget that we're dealing with families that have feelings and loved ones who are hurting. And they want this more than anything. And they definitely don't want this case to be screwed up. We don't have that much longer to wait. Today's the 10th. We have 12 days when we have a public hearing on the probable cause affidavit. And I firmly believe that at that point in time, the judge will open it. I will be really shocked if it's not. So that's my opinion on that. But I love all you guys. I'm so glad that you all came tonight to spend time with me. And hats off to all of my new members. I am going to be doing a Delphi. I'm going to do a Delphi members only soon. I'm working on it right now. So that will be coming up for my members. And I just want everyone here to know that even though I may not agree with some of the things that you say or think or whatever, you know, we can respectfully just disagree. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I don't expect people to. I just give you my opinions, and I get a lot of requests for those. So I like to put them out there. I hope everyone has a good rest of your evening and Friday and Saturday. I will plan on being here with you on Saturday night, and we'll go from there. But just keep your heads high and be kind, because, you know, really, guys, it really doesn't take anything to be kind to one another. And seeing everybody in this genre and how people get so riled up so fast, it's I don't know. I just feel like this is something we've all wanted for 5.5 years, you guys. It's here, and we need to let law enforcement do their jobs. We need to keep it tight, as my good friend GonZo would say, and make sure that everything happens the way it's supposed to. And Tech Death, you crack me up. I've said all along through this whole case, it's not about me, and I don't have to be right. I just want the right person caught and the right person to pay for the murders of Abby and Libby, because after all, it's about them. So I'm going to leave you with Tech Death's beautiful music, as I always do. Everyone have a good evening, and be safe out there. And I will see you on Saturday.